Hi, I'm Matt. Welcome back to our aquariums. Today I wanted to do a little review, short one, on the lighting I use on my tank. Previously on my smaller tank I used T5, high output, and I kind of dinked a little bit with LEDs, but not too much because I didn't really know that much about them. I'd always used, fluorescent lighting basically as a staple in freshwater and saltwater. And so I just never really, got into the LEDs too much for one reason or another. I had the lights laying around, and I always seemed to use fluorescence anyways. Excuse me. So, I was looking for lights for, this big tank behind me here, and obviously for saltwater on a bigger tank, the go-to solution is generally metal halides. And while I read, excellent things about metal halides, based on coral growth and, depth of my tank. My tank is really deep. It's actually, I believe, 34 inches deep, maybe a little bit deeper. But pretty deep tank as tank depths go. And really, I thought my only option was a metal halide to go that deep. But some of the problems with the metal halide that I ran into almost immediately was that the heat was going to cause my tank problems because I live in a warm area and it can get, pretty hot down here, and the last thing you want is your tank overheating, and I didn't want to have to purchase a chiller or run one to keep this tank going with metal halides. I also didn't want to have to figure out a way to cool the metal halides. They were fairly expensive to buy, and, you're talking about replacing bulbs at least once a year, and that was pretty expensive too when you're talking about $60 to $80 bulbs. So that's some of the problems I ran into when going to pick out metal halides. So then I started looking into LEDs, and what I found was I went to my go-to place for most lighting and, the bigger things on my tank, and that is bulk reef supply. Excuse me again. And started looking into their LEDs. And what I found was these kessils. I really liked the kessils. They were a little bit more expensive than some of the other types. Some of the not mounted, but like fixture ones, and I really liked that these hung from a pendant style. They have a hook right here on the top that hangs. They're not horribly big or heavy. They are the Kessil, I want to say, here, A360 wide lens, tuna blue. So they're tunable, or on here on the top, there's two dials. I don't know how well you can see. One of the dials adjusts intensity of light, and the other one adjusts light, or Kelvin output. So I can make it go as blue as I want, or as white as I want, basically. I chose the tuna blue because they could go really blue, and I really like that look. Right now, I have them kind of halfway between white and blue in my tank, and I really like the way that looks. I only have two mounted on my tank right now, because I initially only bought two. I knew I wanted three eventually, but I just didn't have that money to spend at the time. Excuse me again. But I recently purchased another one here, and my idea, basically in my tank here, I have two center beams, or two cross braces on the top. They kind of cause a shadowing effect with just the two lights, so my idea is to hang three of them evenly spaced out in the top sections of the tank. I hung them from two pieces of unistrut so I can adjust on a track, basically, adjust the lights up and down or side to side. I purchased these when Bulk Reef Supply had their sale. I believe they were $360 a piece, which isn't a bad price considering that they have a 10-year lifespan, basically, at the very least, probably longer than that. They run very cool. There's an internal cooling fan, but at its max output is only 90 watts. And when you're considering, comparable to the light put out by these is a 200 to 450 or 400 watt metal halide. It's a serious savings in power and heat. So that's what I really liked about them. They're light. They're super easy to hang. Came with really nice long cords to plug in, so I didn't have any problem with that, like some of the other lights I've purchased in the past. I believe they have a 2-year warranty on them, I think, so if anything goes wrong with that, that's really awesome that it has that warranty on it, so you can get your money back or at least get a replacement right away. Yeah, just the savings in power alone over the 10-year lifespan versus the metal halides, it was a no-brainer to go with these. The only thing I didn't really care for was the hanging hooks that came with it. I hadn't intended on using the hanging hooks that came with it anyways, because I already obviously had the system set up, but I was a little unimpressed with the hanging hooks. Not a really big deal. Obviously, it was just, you know, kind of something there. But to give you an idea of how powerful these LEDs are, you can see how deep this tank is, and it literally, I thought I'd need them higher, on a higher intensity setting. I have them almost as low as they can go, and they're lighting corals all the way down to the bottom, like the medium, you know, the medium light or higher light corals, such as hammerheads or hammertip, frog spawn. Some of those ones that like a little bit higher intensity, I literally have setting on the bottom in my frag rack or right on the sand bed, and it's lighting all the way down to them. I actually had to turn it down because it started to bleach out some of the corals that were up higher, and I had to move some of the corals down. So I have it on its lowest setting, so it's not even consuming 90 watts. And it's growing the corals. They all seem to be happy. They love the light. You can kind of see on the ceiling here the shimmer effect. You can't really see it, the shimmer effect in the tank right now very well, but it actually produces a really beautiful shimmer effect, which I love that. It's kind of a natural look. It freaked my fish out a little bit at first because they were getting used to it, but once they got used to it, they liked it too. So, all in all, they're really great lights. They're a little bit more pricey, but when you consider that you're going to have them for at least 10 years, you know, if you don't do anything to hurt them, there's no reason why they aren't going to last you at least 10 years. Savings on power, ease of hanging up versus metal halides, heat, all that other stuff. It's certainly saved me money and will continue to save me money, and I love these lights for my tank. The corals seem to love them. Like I said, obviously my tank is probably one of the deepest tanks I've ever seen a person have, and it's having no problem lighting the bottom just on its lowest setting. So I can imagine no matter what size, no matter what depth you want, it's going to do it. And as you can see in my tank, these two lights just kind of hung at a angle to each other, like the entire 6 feet of it. Now, granted, on the ends it's a little bit darker. I wouldn't necessarily set, any higher light corals on the ends right now until I get this other light set up, but it certainly is lighting the full 6 feet of the tank. So, all in all, I really like them. BRS was really great at getting them shipped out. They came in individual boxes, really well packed. I asked some questions first on BRS. They were really great about getting back to me on that. One of the things I love about them. I'm not paid by them to say any of this stuff, obviously. I just really like their company and the service they've been giving me so far. I purchased my skimmer there, several, all my live rock, or dry rock, I should say. My lights, obviously, now. So basically all the big ticket items, even my return pump, all the big ticket items I purchased from them during sales, and they've always been really great about getting them out, getting replacement parts to me if I need them, and answering my questions. So I really like that. Well, that's it for this video. Hope it helps you out in making a decision with your lighting, and y'all have a good day.